So if we have 2 green objects in here, well, let's say it started here. This is 1 point, and this would be 2 points, but also a 10-point bonus. So now you have 12 points. If we move over here to this goal and somebody comes in with the purple, now we're at 13 total points, 12 here, 13 there. It's not a bonus because it doesn't have more than 1 object, but if somebody comes over with another purple, drops that one in there, we get a 10-point bonus. Same thing over there. It doesn't matter. You could do another set of green or reds, however that works. Okay, so those are your towers. And there's one more thing we're going to talk about with the towers in a second here. Over here in this corner, they've got this portion of the field square rectangle here with just a random assortment. And this is always going to be random. There's no rhyme or reason to where any of these blocks that go in here are placed. It's just completely random. So that'll be an interesting portion of the game, because I don't think usually we see something like this. This is the first time they have random objects placed in the field. So the teams will have to figure out a way to clear this area. If they choose to do that, they get a bonus of 20 points, I believe. 20 points for clearing the zone. I'm having people in the background here check that for me just to make sure, but I think it's 20 points to clear all these. It might be 25. But if we get that all cleared out, you get a bonus and get all these objects out of there however they want to do it. They can push them out. They can suck them up with their robot. They can. It's up to the teams to decide how to do that, but get a bonus for that. So clearing that zone will be part of the game as well. This will also be a parking zone at the end of the match. So when the buzzer sounds, if your robot is touching this bar or inside of it, you could be considered partially parked or fully parked. So we've got a robot coming over here. We can show what that would look like. So as long as your robot's breaking the plane of this imaginary plane that goes up an infinite height, as long as you're breaking that plane, you're considered partially parked. To be considered fully parked, your robot has to be completely housed inside of this field, and you cannot break the plane. It looks like we're fully parked, well, if we're breaking the plane of this rectangle, or if we're breaking the plane over here, it's still partially parked. So your robot has to be completely confined within, and there'll be a little bit of a square tool that we can use to go around the perimeter to check that during competitions.
So a couple questions from the Zoom.
Okay, so we have a question here. It says, does the red have to touch the bottom to earn a point? Is it okay to push the random blocks out of the zone? Oh, that's another question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's tackle the first one. Does the red have to touch the bottom to earn a point? I'm assuming they're talking about the towers.
Courtney, you're welcome to join us. Kelly.
Yeah, Courtney, if you want to hop on and ask the question or clarify.
Yes. So when you were talking about the towers, the red ones, when they get dropped on top of at the top of the tower, they often get stuck at the top, but they're technically in the tower. So I was curious whether or not, correct, like that.
Yeah, the object has to be either touching the bottom or be touching another object that's in there through transitive contact. So this, if we're looking at this right now, this is not scored. But if we had, 2 blocks underneath it and it was touching one of the other blocks, it would be considered scored. And it does not have to be fully contained. So if it's sitting here like that and it's touching an object in there, it would be considered in the goal. So, right, okay, so yeah, we're going to stack some blocks here to see if we get a nice little tower going. All right, good. Now we got a balance here. Okay, well, if it were to balance like that, that would be considered scored. There you go. Everything in there would be considered scored. So you'd have, he's got 3 green, 1 purple in there, and then the red, so you have 5 points there. So, yeah. I think there was another question on removing the blocks. Oh, is it okay to push it outside of the playing field? All right, let me rephrase the question. So the question was asked, do you have to push all these objects inside of the playing surface into the playing field? And is it okay to just knock them out like this? I'm assuming that's, am I asking that question right?
Correct.
G3. Okay, so if you look in the game manual, G3 says that you have to keep the game objects in the playing field. Okay? What happens if they do fall out? They go back into the supply zone. So if you do knock them out like this, the referees will come around and they'll put them back into the supply zone. Yep. Okay, so we have some clarification too. So at any point in the match, if you have an object that bounces outside of the field, it goes back into the supply zone. So they'll get replaced back here. All right, so we'll move on. So we have that area. So all of our areas are kind of covered. There's one more part of the game that's pretty interesting. It's a elevation bonus. So you have different levels of elevation, and if you can get all 3 of your towers to be elevated to the same height, this does not have anything to do with the uniform bonus, but you have to be elevated to the same height. You get a 10-point bonus. Would be 30-point bonus, right? 10 points for each uniform level. Here you go. I'm gonna pass over. This is Joe Oscar, and he understands this better.
Hey, so the bonus we're talking about, as you put blocks into the goals, by getting just a block in, you have reached fill level 1. And so if you can get at least 1 block into all the goals, in essence you have reached fill level 1. With every goal, you get a 10-point bonus. Now, if I stack up 1 goal all the way to the top, sorry, you just undid that, didn't see that. Wow, so that goal is all the way up to the 3rd fill level, but our other 2 goals are still at the 1st. That means I only get points for the 1st fill level, so I get 10-point bonus. Now, if I still have all the way full, this one's now at the 2nd level, I still just get 10 points because this goal is still at the 1st level. Okay, but now if I was to put something else in here, hooray! That's at the 3rd level. Goal 2 is at the 2nd. Goal 3 is at the 2nd. Now I get 20 points because I haven't reached at least the 2nd level in all 3 goals. Okay? And so to get the maximum points here, to get that 30 points, I've got to have each goal all the way to the top.
So I think we covered everything, but the last thing that we talked a little bit about parking, but you'll typically see that towards the end of the match. In the last 10 seconds, the robots are going to be racing to park their robots. There's a bonus for having 2 teams fully parked in this zone. So again, this was 5 points to be partially parked, 10 points for a robot that's fully parked, and if we're able to get a second robot fully confined within inside of this parking zone, there'll be an additional 10-point bonus to that. So you'd have 10 points for each robot, plus an additional 10-point bonus for having 2 robots double parked. And I think that's about it. Is there any more questions that popped up in the chat? Okay, so we're gonna kick over to Katie. She's going to show you some of the resources where you can find documentation on the rules, the game manual. There's a cool app called the VEX IQ Hub that has the game manual built into it. It also has like a scoring timer. And the nice thing about that app is you can go in and just search like keywords and it'll pop up to that section because the game manual can be pretty big. So being able to do a quick search to find that would be really helpful to get clarification on some of those rules. So we'll kick over to Katie. She's got the computer hooked up.
All right, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is how to find the VEX IQ robotics competition reveal video. So if you just go to YouTube and type into the search bar VEX IQ full volume game reveal. It's going to be this very first link from VEX Robotics, and it's a short 3-minute video that just goes quickly over a lot of the stuff Jared covered on the field. The next thing we're going to discuss is the game manual for the full volume game challenge. So again, I'm just going to go to Google and type in VEX IQ full volume game manual, and it's going to be this very first link that you'll click on. You'll go to vexrobotics.com/full volume manual. What's nice about this version is you are able to very easily select whichever section of the game manual you would like to view. So again, if you'd like to look at like scoring, for example, you're able to go in and very easily find all the information you were looking for. Let's say you are a coach that still needs to order game elements for this year. I'm just going to go to Google and type in VEX IQ full volume game elements. And it's going to be this very first link from VEX Robotics. This year, our VEX IQ game element set is $134.99. The other thing Jared had talked about was the VEX IQ Hub app, and this is an app that is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play. And what's cool about this app is you're able to go through and find the game manual. You're able to score up different points unofficially. You cannot use that to score a competition. And then you're also able to go through and stop a timer or start a timer to run practice matches. Jared, would you like to add anything regarding the app? All right, do we have any questions in chat? Okay, I think we're going to take some time to transition over to our next presenter.